did you agree to lowering tariffs for any of the countries that you spoke to today? So
what you understand, Jennifer, you have to understand this. We have massive surplus countries that we're dealing with. We have massive deficits. We've got to straighten that out because you can't continue to be that way. It's been that way for years now, and it can't go on any longer. And we're the piggy bank. We have all the advantages. Forget markets for a second. We have all the advantages. We're going to straighten out. We're going to become a wealthy nation again, wealthy like never before. And we're not going to let other nations that have been ripping us off, whether it's China or the European Union, with all of the European nations that have just made it's been like a feast. Look, the European Union was formed for one reason. You know what that was? To rip off the United States. So put that in your bonnet. I hope you had a good flight. Have a good time.
Thank you for your... This is my video update on this Monday midday, April the 7th, coming to you from Ayia Napa, Cyprus. Let's talk about some news. And let's start things off with tariffs, because this is the big story, not only the big story of the day, of the week, but perhaps the big story of the year. Tariffs, the tariff wars. And the markets, they are crashing pretty much everywhere. The European markets opened way down. The Chinese markets also got smashed as well. Crypto is tanking. Bitcoin is at $78,000. A huge drop in Bitcoin and crypto. And we have some countries now which are signaling they are ready to negotiate with the Trump administration. And we have one big globalist organization which is about to announce its retaliation against Trump's tariffs. So the Trump White House, they said yesterday that 50 countries have signaled that they are ready to negotiate on tariffs. They did name some countries. For example, India, Vietnam, Cambodia, Israel. They are some of the countries, some of the 50 countries, which will be negotiating with the Trump administration on tariffs. And we have Taiwan as well. Taiwan has agreed to eliminate all tariffs on U.S. goods. And we have the big retaliation, which is coming up from the globalist powerhouse European Union. The EU is preparing its big retaliation on the United States. Mark your calendars, everybody, because on April 15th, we will have Tatters Day. Trump announced Liberation Day. Ursula is going to announce Tatters Day on April 15th. So the EU, they are Tatters Day. Tatters Day. Tariffs Tatters Day. That is what Ursula is going to announce on April 15th. Oh, man. So the EU is going to vote on April 9th on their tariff retaliation. And then April 15th, they will launch Tariffs Tatters Day. Has a nice ring to it, doesn't it? Tariffs Tatters Day. I bet you're wondering what's in here, huh? It's trash, actually. Yeah, not good. Not good at all. Anyway, yeah, April 15th, the EU is going to launch its retaliation to the United States if it gets the vote on April the 9th for its tariffs package. It's tariff retaliation. It's going to be 28 billion on U.S. imports. It is going to include bourbon, toilet paper, dental floss, chewing gum, vacuum cleaners, meat, etc. That's what they're going to tariff. 28 billion dollars. I think I said euros. 28 billion dollars of tariffs on U.S. imports. It's not that much, 28 billion, huh? It's about what the European Union pays Elensky in a month. That's Elensky's salary in 1 month. 28 billion in tariffs. Let's see here. EU hits back at Trump's trade war with US 28 billion in planned tariffs on US imports. The EU's retaliatory tariffs will hit US products including meat, wine, and clothing, as well as chewing gum, vacuum cleaners, and toilet paper, and washing machines, and shovels, and washing machines. So that's the retaliation from the European Union. France is pushing the EU to also launch tariffs against services, digital services. Ireland is resisting this in a big way because all of the big tech companies, the US tech companies, are pretty much in Ireland. And so if they were going to start placing tariffs on US tech companies, this could really hurt Ireland in a big way. Italy is urging the EU to not retaliate at all. And France is pushing big time for tariffs, including digital tariffs. You know what Trump is going to do to France, right? If they start placing all kinds of tariffs on U.S. goods, including bourbon, Trump is going to hit France really hard when it comes to wine. Yeah, he did that in his first term, or he threatened that in his first term, and Macron backed down in 2 seconds. Macron was calling Trump and backing down. That's going to be the retaliation, at least against France, if they start going after bourbon. And U.S. wine as well is in this tariff retaliation from the European Union. So we had on Saturday, was it Saturday or Sunday? On Saturday, we had the big hands up or hands off protest. Hands off is what it was called. Big protests in the United States. Every state had one of these hands off events. Sponsored. These protests were sponsored by a lot of organizations. They actually had their logos on the hands off, from what I understand, the hands off website or whatever it was that was organizing this big protest. All of their logos were there as sponsors of this protest. The first time I have ever seen, in my lifetime, I've ever seen a protest with sponsors. First time ever. I've never seen this before. And pretty much all of the organizations that were sponsoring these protests, they pretty much all fall under some sort of globalist, Soros, USAID organization, or something like that. They're pretty much all globalist organizations, neoliberal globalist organizations. But they have cool names and cool logos, and they're sponsoring these hands-off protests. Some of them seemed pretty large. I think I just saw some sort of a crab or something in here. So yeah, I'm not quite sure what they're upset about. From what I read, They're upset at the fact that there's been a coup in the United States, I guess, from Elon Musk or something like that. They're also complaining that that Trump is corrupt. Trump is corrupt. If Trump is corrupt, then what was Biden? If Trump is corrupt, what was Biden? Man, I saw something down there. There's something lurking in these waters. Something lurking in these waters in Ayanapa. Yeah, so they're upset because of a Musk coup and Trump corruption. There were no protests for 10% for the big guy. No protests there. 10% for the big guy, all good. 400 billion to Elensky, all good. Trump sets up Doge with Elon Musk, bad. Bad. All bad. Oh man. So that was the hands off protests. Keep your hands off of the United States, Elon Musk. I guess that's the meaning of the protest, the title. That's the meaning of the title of the protest. Hands off our democracy, Musk and Trump. What else should we talk about? Well, since we're talking about corruption, protests about corruption, let's talk about Project Ukraine. And Yulia Tymoshenko, the gas princess, and she's called the gas princess not because she's bloated and has a lot of gas. She's called the gas princess. Well, she wears her hair, or she used to wear her hair, like Princess Leia. And she's super wealthy because she was in the oil and gas, the energy business. And she became incredibly powerful, incredibly wealthy. Used to be a very prominent politician. Now there are rumors that the United States, they're trying to replace Elensky with Tymoshenko, because once upon a time, Tymoshenko did have a good working relationship with Putin a long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. She had a pretty good relationship with Putin, and the United States is thinking that she could be the Elensky successor. Anyway, she was speaking to shipping oligarchs, and Tymoshenko, she said that there's going to possibly be a deal in May for the conflict in Ukraine. She said it is going to be a Korea type of deal. In other words, she's saying that it's going to be a freeze on the front lines, and there's going to be a DMZ that's going to be set up, and there's going to be no treaty signed. So it's going to be pretty much like Korea. No treaty, nothing, no real resolution to the conflict. A freeze, a DMZ. And she said once that is all agreed in May, that there's going to be a power reset, is what she said. A power reset, and I imagine she's basically telling the powerful oligarchs that she was speaking to that the power reset will be her. She's going to be the reset. She's going to be the person in power in Ukraine. That is what Tymoshenko said. The UK Telegraph, they put out a very long, very ridiculous article on Ukraine with the title, "Trump is counting on a quick Ukraine peace deal, leaving Putin rubbing his hands. MAGA's demands for a quick end to the war threaten to crush Kiev's brave resistance to Putin." Ah, that's right. Kiev's brave resistance Trump is going to sell out Elensky, and Putin is rubbing his hands. He's rubbing his hands. Putin, the evil mastermind that is Putin, rubbing his hands. Because basically this article is saying that Putin is fooling everybody and manipulating everybody. And now Trump is putting the squeeze on Elensky. And he's going to force Elensky to give up the 4 territories in their entirety. That's the main point of this article, to be quite honest. It's that that Ukraine is going to give up, because of Trump's pressure, all the 4 territories in accordance with Istanbul Plus, June 2024, root causes terms. Kherson, Zaporozhye, Donetsk, Lugansk, the entirety of these oblasts will be given to Russia. The Ukraine military will have to retreat from these areas, and that's going to be the settlement in Ukraine, according to the Telegraph. Let me read you some of what they're saying. The rest of the article, and it's a long article, the rest of the article is pretty much the same old narrative of Elensky is Churchill, Stammer is Churchill, Trump is evil, Putin is evil, Russia's in tatters, Russia's running out of weapons, the Russian military is incompetent, Putin wants to recreate the Soviet Union, Europe is fighting for democracy and values and all of these things. That's pretty much the rest of the article. But the main point that they're coming out with, the UK Telegraph, the warning that they're sending out there is that the deal that Trump wants to sign off on is Istanbul Plus. And they actually blame Witkoff. They say that Witkoff is the person to blame because he's the one that's bought into the Russian narrative, the Russian propaganda. He's the one that wants to settle Project Ukraine and get to business. So they're putting a lot of the blame on Witkoff. The article says, still, it is more likely than not that Ukraine will find itself facing an ultimatum, either sign a Trump-brokered peace deal dictated by Putin or lose U.S. intelligence and logistical support permanently. How would the map of Ukraine change after such a one-sided ceasefire? Putin claims 5 provinces, Crimea, Lugansk, Donetsk, Kherson, and Zaporozhye. The last 3 are still only partially occupied by the Russians. Agreeing to withdraw Ukrainian forces from these regions would increase the Russian-occupied area from about 20% to roughly 25% of Ukraine's sovereign territory. That might sound like a sacrifice worth making to stop the slaughter, though it would inevitably deprive Kiev of yet more economic resources and its fortified front lines. The article makes a lot of false statements. It lies. The article lies by claiming that it was Putin who tricked Trump into the energy ceasefire and then the Black Sea ceasefire. And it says that Putin was getting hammered. Russia was getting hammered by Ukraine attacks on Russian energy. And so Putin tricked Trump into this ceasefire, the energy ceasefire. And then Putin, because Russia's desperate to get their agriculture to the markets, that they also tricked Trump into the Black Sea ceasefire, which they are breaking. they were desperate to get their products, their agriculture, their food out to the markets, which is not true, but they were really desperate to do this, and so they tricked Trump into the Black Sea ceasefire, and then Russia decided to, according to the Telegraph, to break their own ceasefire. It just doesn't make any freaking sense, the article. Doesn't make any sense. The article also says, this is interesting, the article says that as long as Elensky is president, he will never surrender to Russia or to the United States. It actually says that. He's not going to surrender to Russia or to the United States. And when it means surrendering to the United States, the article says that Elensky will never give up Ukraine's resources in the Trump minerals deal. The article says that the minerals deal is basically Trump's way of taking over all of Ukraine's resources. And so it says that Elensky will never surrender to Putin militarily or to Trump economically. So the article says that as well. It also claims that Europe wants to preserve Ukraine, the sovereignty of Ukraine, and it wants to preserve Ukraine's military because Ukraine has the best military in all of Europe. And finally, the article goes on to admit that Stammer's coalition of the willing has failed. It actually says that Stammer's coalition of the willing is over. Without the U.S. as a backstop, there is no coalition of the willing. There are no troops in Ukraine. There's no fly zone, Black Sea naval patrols. None of that stuff is going to happen without the United States. So the article also says that as well. So that's the Telegraph article. Let me see, do I have any more excerpts from this very long piece of UK propaganda? It says, on the ground, this has manifestly not happened, but there are many inside the Trump camp who believe that the Russian claims are legitimate. These could include Steve Witkoff, the president's golf partner and chief negotiator, talks about how the claims are that, or the Russian propaganda is that Russia is winning, Ukraine is losing, and the article makes the case that it's actually Ukraine that is holding on, that is resisting, and it's Russia that's getting destroyed. But Witkoff, he buys into the Kremlin propaganda, and he's Trump's golf partner. So it kind of mocks him and ridicules him in a way. It also says as long as Elensky remains at the helm in Kiev, there will be no Ukrainian surrender either to Moscow or to Washington. Elensky will never surrender. He will never surrender. Never. I guess he's going to have to go if he's never going to surrender. Is that what the Telegraph is saying? Anyway, let's talk about hockey. Let's talk about hockey, and we can talk about... Let's find a way out of here. And then we can talk about kind of a clown world. So the record has been broken. The record has been broken. 895 career goals. Ovechkin, Alexander Ovechkin, broke the great one, Wayne Gretzky's record yesterday as the Caps were playing, I believe they were playing the Islanders. And he did it. He broke the record. An amazing accomplishment. What was once thought to be an impossible record to break, actually. Even Ovechkin, he said in an interview that Gretzky's record will never be broken, and he's the person that ended up breaking that record. And he actually did it. I want to find the article here. He actually did it in less time than Gretzky. One game less it took him to get the scoring record. I thought I had it bookmarked, but I guess I don't, because I want to find the total games that it took Ovechkin to break the record. It was one less game than Gretzky, which is quite an accomplishment. An amazing record from an amazing athlete. Oh, here we go. I knew I had it bookmarked somewhere. Where is it here? Ovechkin is a 3-time world champion with the Russian national team and took home the 2018 Stanley Cup with the Caps, which he has spent his entire NHL career with. That's amazing as well. Gretzky, considered the greatest hockey player of all time, needed 1,487 games to tally 894 goals. Ovechkin was able to match him in his 1,486th game and to surpass him in the next one. What an amazing accomplishment. 1,487 games for Gretzky. to get 894 goals, 1,486 games for Ovechkin to get 894 goals. And then one game later, he got the record, 895. And I believe he still has 5 games left, 4 or 5 games left to expand on that record. So let's do a clown world and we can wrap up this video. Politico is reporting that Finland is patrolling the Gulf of Finland to prevent Russian ships from sabotaging cables and pipelines. According to Politico, Europe's new war with Russia, deep sea sabotage. Suspicious Russian tankers keep slashing Europe's internet and power cables. It's not an act of war, but someday it might be. Wow, that's pretty scary stuff. Good thing that Finland is patrolling the Gulf of Finland to prevent Russia from any type of cable or pipeline sabotage. Too bad they weren't patrolling the Baltic for Nord Stream, huh? Where was Finland? Where were the Finnish patrols during Nord Stream? I don't know. Where were they? Better late than never, I guess, right? Let's see what Politico is saying here. Before Russia bulldozed its way into Ukraine, Ilya Ilyin mainly hunted for people stranded at sea. Now he also hunts saboteurs. Ilyin, deputy commander of Finland's Coast Guard, is increasingly on the lookout for tankers about to commit sabotage. Behind him is a small army, dozens of radars and cameras, numerous patrol boats, a fleet of planes and helicopters, all deployed to scour a stretch of water as large as Belgium. They're looking for suspicious behavior that could imperil the undersea cables that bring internet and power to Europeans. And yet, sabotage keeps happening, twice in the Gulf of Finland alone in the last 18 months, according to Ilyin. In total, the Baltic Sea has registered at least 6 suspicious sabotage incidents since 2022, with 11 known undersea cables taken out since 2023. Is Nord Stream part of the 11 instances of undersea sabotage? The 11 instances or 6 instances in 2022 of cable or pipeline sabotage? Are they including Nord Stream, or is Nord Stream kind of left out? Because we all know that was Gilligan and the skipper and they were on their ship, the Andromeda. This is the Andromeda, everybody. The Andromeda has been found, has been located in Cyprus. My God, look, you can see all of the scuba gear that was used to blow up Nord Stream. It's all here. Maybe we should call the German investigators. They should make their way down here to investigate the Andromeda. They really liked their energy drinks, huh? The saboteurs of Nord Stream. They like their energy drinks. They like their beer, their Red Bull. Anyway, that's the video, everybody. They're Duran.locals.com. We are on Rumble, ODYSEE, BitChute, Telegram, Rockfin, and X. Go to the Duran shop, pick up some merch like what I'm wearing in this video update. The link is in the description box down below. Take care. 15% off, by the way, if you use the code SPRING15. What a beautiful German Shepherd.